Let's go. Let's go. I am so ready for this episode of Pure EVil MMA. Apparently I didn't set up the camera right, but we got so many special guests. Well, we got one really special guest joining us here today, which you guys just saw at UFC Tampa it went to a decision, and I will not be biased about it because I've had PENA on the show before, no matter what he said to me today on my latest article at PureEvilMMA.com, which I will get into in just a moment. But Matt Frevola is going to be joining us in just a minute. I'm going to be calling him in about 3 minutes. I want to jump right into the meat and potatoes of everything because there's a lot we got to get through today. And no, as soon as I drop this episode on iTunes, you guys are going to be eating it up, which is a message for everybody tuning in on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this audio podcast right now. Jump over to the Periscope page. Follow us on Periscope. You will get notified the second I go live here at Pure Evil MMA. And also on today's show, you see that poster right about there? Yeah, we're going to be giving 2 posters away today. Now, if you did not join in on the giveaway, it's not too late. All you have to do is go to the Instagram page for Pure Evil MMA, tag 5 of your friends to tell them to follow us, because, the last Pure Evil MMA page got taken down, and that's another question we're going to have to ask Frevola in just a moment, the steamroller, because he got steamrolled by Instagram. His profile is now a new one. Maybe he didn't have a profile on Instagram before. Maybe it got flagged. I don't know. We're going to ask him in just a second, but we had to start a new Pure Evil MMA Instagram page, and if you guys are out there grinding day after day, waking up, and I love you for it, because that's what life's all about, waking up with motivation, having goals. Well, when you do that year after year to build something, and then you wake up one morning and your page is gone, not a good feeling. So if you guys want to jump in and get on board with the giveaway that's going down at the end of today's show, go tag 5 of your friends at Pure Evil MMA on the giveaway post. Now, the giveaway post, it's only going to take 2 seconds before we move forward. Let me find my phone. Lost my phone. No surprise here. Lost my phone. You should see. Oh, you know what? Matt Frevola is ready. Let's just ring him in. Let's just ring Frevola in right now. It seems like he's pretty antsy to get this going. We've been talking the last couple of days. He's fresh off the win, so I'm sure he's just chilling but anxious at the same time, because if you're a fighter, man, and you go to the post-fight press conference, everyone's up your ass about what's next. Matt Frevola, the steamroller. What's going on, Frevola? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man, but I can only imagine when you say, I'm doing great, how are you? You are just totally wrapped up in just being proud of yourself, man. Like, you had a great performance this weekend. You got to show everybody what a warrior you really were. Now, let's jump right into the meat and potatoes of things with this first question, and then we're going to jump really deep. What did you do after the win? Because I know a lot of these fighters, they have, their guilty little things they do after a fight, whether it's go to the strip club or simply going to KFC. What did you do after your fight to celebrate?
Oh, well, right after the fight, had to do that little media thing and talk with people, see the doctors. Then I hit that buffet hard. That's always what I do after the fight. Hit that buffet hard, and then went back to the hotel, showered off, got suited up, and then we hit the after party. It was fun. We had a great time at the Hooch and Hive, which is right over by the University of Tampa, where I went to school. And, I lived down in Tampa for 7 years. So my Tampa people were out, and then I have my family and my friends, the loyal team rollers from Strong Island. They follow me everywhere I go. So we all had a great time at the after party.
I mean, I won't lie. You were here in New York. That's where you grew up, correct? And then you went down to Florida. You're training at Gracie Tampa South now, correct?
I was born and raised in Long Island, and I'm living up here now. And then I went to school at University of Tampa. I stayed down in Tampa for about 7 years, where I started fighting amateur. I went pro down in Florida, training at Gracie Tampa South. But whenever I'd be home, I trained with the Longo fight team. So right now I'm training full time at Longo and Weidman and Sarah BJJ. Home base is Strong Island, but I go down to Tampa and do like a week or two every fight camp, and I'm always down in Tampa. Tampa's my second home.
Let me ask you this, because a lot of people out there, they think of Florida, they think of Disneyland or Disney World. I think it's Disneyland that's down there. I've been there a bunch of times. I lived down there for a little while. People don't realize it's actually, some spots are nice, but for the most part, it's pretty hard down in Florida, especially South Florida, with Haitian Nation, and it's the capital of recovery and relapse. A lot of famous rappers are from down there. It's pretty hard. It's pretty brutal down there, right?
Yeah, Tampa. I love Tampa, and Florida in general has a huge MMA scene. You see that just in that Tampa card. All the Florida guys killed it. Mike Davis had that awesome knockout. Nico Price had that awesome knockout.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, the Florida guys killed it on the card, and Florida has a real up and coming MMA scene. Like even when I was coming up at Gracie Tampa South, it was me, Billy Quarantello, and Alon Cruz.
Billy Q.
Billy Q.
Yeah,
Billy
Hold
Q's
on,
my
Matt.
boy.
Matt, let me stop you right there, because I saw your boy Billy Q. Billy's been on the show before, I think twice now, and he had your back, man. Lewis, your opponent, he's been on the show, and I'm not going to be biased or anything, and I got something to tell you and our audience here in just a moment. But Billy Q went to defend you with Lewis's post after the fight, where he said, man, you left it to the judges, and that's what happens, because what Lewis said was, this was my opponent's, stomping ground. So I feel like the judges were a little bit biased. Can you comment on that comment there? Because it's not like it was one-sided this way or that way. It was a very close fight. And to be honest, I was in bed watching this with one of my girls. I have girls come here in and out all the time because I'm the same age as you, and you know what it is. But I had the fight going for you. She had it for Violent Bob Ross. So, do you really believe it's like that?
No,
it was close, right? In your
fight.
eyes?
It was a good fight. It was a close fight. He probably sent that tweet out when his emotions are running high. He's a classy dude. Emotions run high in there. In a close, hard fight like that, it could have gone either way. But that's MMA. That's the fight game. That's why there's 3 judges. 2 of the judges said I won. 1 judge said he won. So I got my hand raised. I got my check doubled. I rewatched the fight today. And I'm my own worst critic, and
of course.
I won the fight. I won the round 1 is whatever, he 100% won round 2, I 100% won round 3, and that round 1 is what is and I won like the first 4 minutes of that fight until he put me in that choke. It was tight. He swung the momentum, but he won the last minute of the round. That shouldn't overcome the 4-minute beating I put on him in round 1.
Now, if you could just sit back for a second and say this wasn't your fight, you look at Pena's reaction and everything. What would be your opinion of judging? Do you think judges should be ringside? Do you think they should be backstage? Do you think it's fine the way it is? How do you feel about judging? Do you feel like there should be changes, or how do you feel about that?
I've always said that, like, in a perfect world, if you could just change it, try something new, you put the judges in like a green room, almost like just a room like it could be in the stadium, but just like with no noise. You give them headphones. No commentary. You give them maybe just like blacked out headphones or whatever, and then let them watch the fight. They could have all the angles they want, and you try it that way. But it's like putting like instant replay in base, or it's just any kind of rule change. It takes a lot. So I don't see them changing the positioning of the judges.
Well, something like that would be so simple. It's not like people go and buy tickets to see the judges sit there and score the fight. And to be honest, and I know you can probably relate to this, when you're at a fight card, whether it's regional in your area or a UFC event, it's so easy to get distracted. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It would be. I agree with you. It would be better if they,
The crowd can definitely like weigh, you know, just the reactions and whatnot. But they got three. That's why there's three judges. They put each judge like on each corner of the octagon because it's always like different angles, different views for different techniques. But yeah, that's the fight game. And in a close fight like me and Lewis had, it could have gone either way. But if you watch it like on the professional footage, like you'll see, I won round 1, he won round 2, and then I won round 3, and that's a W in my book.
I scored this the same way. Now, before we get to anything further in this interview, I want to know where your head was at going into round 3. What were your coaches saying to you? How did you feel you were doing in the fight? Can you paint that picture for our audience here?
In the corner, I knew I won round 1. I knew I lost round 2, and that third round comes down to who wants it more, and I wanted it more, and I was ready to go out there and prove that, and that that was my mindset, and I knew what I had to do to win, and fighting all these like 6'3", lanky southpaws, I got to work to get in, move my head. So I was just focused to go out there and outwork them, and that's what I did. I outworked them. I landed the better strikes, and won that third round, which won me the fight.
Now let me also ask you this: that was an amazing lineup for that card. How did it feel to be, in that position on the card with so many legendary fighters like Cub Swanson? Even there was Kron Gracie on there, Joanna, Michelle Waterson. How was it to be right there at the top? What was it like backstage? Was it everything you wanted? Being in Florida, was it what you thought it would be?
Yeah, it was perfect. I did the last 2 weeks down in Tampa, so I'm right at home in Tampa. I swim at my old University of Tampa. I run on the track there. I'm training at Grace Stamp South. I know everyone. I know all the healthy spots. I do. I got my whole team down there, so it's at home. And fight week was amazing. I had a perfect weight cut with my buddies with Lockhart Leith, and then we're on the main card now, and I always want to be on the main card. I think everyone knows that every time I step into the octagon, I fight for keeps.
Are you someone that looks at Instagram comments and Twitter comments, or do you kind of just like black out and focus during fight week going into the fight?
Just a little bit, here and there. I don't obsess over it. I'm very regimented. I've got my plan for the day, and I execute. And I was very prepared for that fight, and I was ready for a war. And and when it was a war, I was ready to win that war. I was also looking to take them out like in the first second of the fight. So that's why we're on the main card, and that's why we're going to stay on the main card. So
now let me ask you this before I ask a brutal question. What could you say positive about Lewis's performance, if anything? What surprised you with his performance that you were impressed with?
His jiu-jitsu, he was attacking well with those submissions. That choke, I'm going to go into Sarah BJJ and talk with Matt and find out what kind of choke that was, because I was in side control and I was thinking, I'm in side control, he can't choke me here. But with his like length, I guess he was able to lock up that choke, and it was tight, but not tight enough.
Well, we've heard him mention on his debut after The Ultimate Fighter that he was trying to pull something off that Joe Giannetti taught him backstage right before the fight. So once you find that out, let us know a little bit more about that, and I'll try to reach out to the Violent Bob Ross to see what he says. But here's the brutal question. This is what everyone's been asking me to ask you. What did you think about his reaction at the end of the day? Because it did seem a little disrespectful in a lot of people's eyes. How did you personally feel about the way that he reacted when the decision was announced?
I didn't think much of it. I was real happy about getting the W and putting on an awesome fight. Like, you know, that was a great fight.
Yeah, it was.
But then you know, emotions, like I said before, emotions are running high. You know, he got emotional in there, and I know he's a good dude, and you know, he realized, I'm sure he realized that we're both going to get better from that, and both our stocks went up from that fight. So the only difference is that my check got doubled, but hopefully UFC takes care of us either way, you know.
Now, did you two talk backstage? Did you come into the locker room? Did you guys have drinks together? Did you interact with him at all after the fight went down?
No, I didn't see him at all after the fight, but some of my buddies saw him, and I said he was respectful, whatever. But I talked to him direct message, so we're good.
Yeah, like I said, I've interviewed him even before he was in the UFC. Me and him would talk all the time, but you know, the way he reacted was just kind of strange in a lot of people's eyes. So we had to ask you how you felt about that. Now let's talk a little bit about your last couple of fights, because now you're in a 2-fight win streak, and we got to ask you about the Lando fight. Would you like to have that fight back, or how do you feel moving forward? Because you know, you got a nice little streak going on here, building up a little run here. How you feeling, and would you like to get any of the fights back between Polo or Lando, or do you just want to keep that in the past and move forward?
Polo Race is probably going to get cut, and he's going down 145. You know, he was never the same since he fought me, and you know, I'm going to throw out USADA, but who knows, you know. But we're past that one, and then Lando fight, I definitely want back, but he lost his last fight, so you know, he's got to keep winning if he wants, you know, if we're going to run that back. And then this guy, you know, Lewis, he keeps winning. I keep winning. You know, I see our paths crossing again in the future.
Oh,
so.
we would all love to see that again. That you guys really did put on a scrap. I don't mean to rewind a little bit, but people don't understand what it takes to dig deep in that moment. And we saw from you the warrior side come out. Can you kind of paint the picture of what's going through your head in those moments? Because once you make it to the UFC, it's harder once you get cut to make it back there. So every fight is obviously so important. What's going through your mind in that third round to bring out that warrior spirit, to kind of turn you into a machine almost? You're a machine in that third round. What's going through your head? Paint that picture for us if you could.
Well, you know, I know that I put the work in. You know, that was my 20th fight total, and just through all my amateur Muay Thai and everything, and I know what I have to do to prepare for a fight. I know that I put in my work and that I'm ready for this, and like I said before, you know, that round 3 comes down to who wants it more, and I'm never gonna get outworked, and especially not in the third round, and yeah.
Do you hear your corner, or is it kind of are you kind of in a blacked out, or can you really hear what people are saying to you in your corner?
Yeah, definitely. I can always hear, and then you know, being able to recover in that minute is huge. You know, focusing on your breathing and getting your brain in the right portion of your brain. Like I do a thing called Wintensity, and it's kind of how your brain works under critical stress. And like my corner always asks me a math problem as soon as like I get in there. I do some recovery breaths, and he's like for this one he said like 7 + 4, and then I was like 10. Like trying to like ask for
I'm not gonna lie, I was just counting it out on my fingers, man. I'm right there with you.
And then he's like nope. He's like nope. Try again. And then I had to go back, and I was like. 11, and I was again kind of like counting on, but that exercise right there got my brain from the emotional side to the calculated thinking side, and then he starts his coaching. It's and I mean I can always recover completely in a minute, and I'm prepared. You know, that's where my confidence comes from, is bred from my hard work. So I'm prepared. I'm always prepared.
Now, after a situation like that, do you go home and like, man, I got to brush up on my math? Like, like how do you feel? Because I'd feel some type of way, and I guarantee a lot of our listeners were in their car at the gym just now listening and counting on their fingers as well. Sometimes we got to get a little refresher. How do you feel after something like that? Do you feel silly, or is it just because, you know, you're in such an intense moment?
No, I think it's cool that it's on now I'm like, you know, people are seeing this on the biggest stage of MMA in the world, and you get a little insight on like a fighter's life, you know, what goes on, and it's cool, you know.
So let's get into some of the fun stuff I want to ask you, man. You got a custom suit? So they made you a custom suit for I think it was before the fight. Did you wear it after the fight, or give us the rundown on that? What's up with the custom suit? Because man, you look fly as hell.
Yeah, shout out to Bespoke company down in Tampa, Florida. They hooked me up with a custom suit, and I was rocking it all fight week and after the fight, and they asked me to do their fashion show, so I walked the runway for them and had my modeling debut.
What? So is that something you've wanted to do? Because, you know, there are fighters out there like you know, Elias or Luke that have done stuff like that. How did you like it?
I mean, yeah, it was cool. I got to rock that new custom suit.
That free suit, yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Are you the kind of guy, like a lot of us here on the East Coast, where you usually just have one suit they wear to the funeral, to the weddings, and stuff like that? Like,
yeah, definitely. I got one suit, and I kind of wear it everywhere. But now I got a second suit. So, but this second suit is like only like my fight week suit. Maybe like 2 weeks out from the fight, I got to cut weight to put it on.
So now you got this suit. You're in the UFC. What changes have been made since fighting for Titan? Because I've interviewed a ton of guys from Titan. For the listeners out there, there's been a lot of fighters that came over from Titan FC, like Bilal Muhammad. There's a lot of fighters in Florida, period. Mike Perry, Jillian Robertson had a bunch of fights down there. Robert Turnquist fights down there. Shorty Torres. You know, what's been the biggest difference between Titan FC coming to the UFC? You know, now you got these suits. You know, how's life changed in the past couple of years for you?
Pretty much, it's kind of it's just all my hard work. You know, I get to train full time now, and it's kind of like putting like, you know, justification of all this work I've been doing is paying off. You know, and everyone, you know, people are recognizing it. But really no change. You know, I get to do what I love. I get to improve, just keep learning, and then get a fight booked. And then when I get a fight booked, I get to sharpen those weapons and those new tools that I've learned, and put them on display for the world. So
now you got a new Instagram. What happened there? Did you get flagged? Did they take your profile down? What happened with that? And we got your new Instagram tag here on the video cast, and I think it's off the top of my head, Steamroller. Let me see it really quick. What happened there? What was the story with it?
My old one got deactivated because I had copyright infringements.
Steamroller Frevola _ MMA. That's the new one, correct?
That's the new one.
Okay,
yeah,
just double checking on that.
Yeah.
So what did you use? The retweet app or something?
No, that was my personal Instagram. And,
well, no. Why did you get flagged? Like what?
I was posting like my highlights of UFC fights, and then clips of it and stuff, and then they would take it down, say, you know, and then I'd say like, you know, UFC said it was all right. I'm a UFC fighter. That's me. And then I would do it again, and they'd do that again, and then we went through that a couple times, and then they just deactivated, and I couldn't get it back for a couple months, and then I finally caved and just made a new one before this fight.
Well, let's talk about that just for a second. It's very important to have social media status. I mean, I had a few thousand followers. It got taken down. Robin Black had a ton of followers. His got taken down before it was put back up. It's important this day and age to kind of, it's like being back in high school. You got popularity points with how many thousand followers you have. Did you see an impact made once your profile was taken down? Did it make changes in your career, the way people are looking at you now with the Instagram profile? Did you see it jump up once you got the win?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, it helps with sponsors. It helps with me being able to promote myself. But it was a nice detox. And then when I created the new one, it was like all my day ones re-followed me. It's like no more fake followers.
There you
Only
go.
only my day ones follow me now. So whoever follows the new account, I know is like my ride or dies.
Quality over quantity, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So listen, man. How long have you been training with Ray Longo?
I've been training with Longo for a long time now. I would always when I would come back from Tampa, when I was living in Tampa, I would come back for Christmas and summers when I was going to school down there, and I would always train with Longo and train with Sarah. And but I've been moved back up here, training full time up here for almost 3 years now, 2.5, 3 years.
So, man, I also got to ask you this. How excited are you for that UFC 244 event? Are you going to try to travel out there? What's your pick first? Let me ask you, who's your pick, Nate or Masvidal? Do you feel comfortable answering that?
Yeah, Masvidal. That's
down in Florida, right?
yeah. I think Masvidal's looking good, and I think he's going to go on there and piece up Nate Diaz, get the win, get that bad BMF belt. And then they're going to bring the UFC down to Miami and have him headline it. And it's going to be awesome.
Now, something I like to ask a lot of fighters, you've been training at this gym. Who are some people there that we should keep our eyes on moving into 2020? A name that we haven't heard before. Maybe we'll see him on the Contender Series next year. Who do you have for us to go check out, to follow, and keep our eye on that is at your gym training with you?
There's like a lot of killers at with the Sarah Longo fight team, but one guy I was sparring a lot with when Al I was sparring a lot with Al, and then Al went to Australia, and then I was sparring with this guy Nas. He's a beast. He's fighting. I think he just had a knockout for CFFC, but he fights for Ring of Combat as well. He's a beast, definitely up and comer. And then Dylan Montello, he's another guy. Sarah Longo just made his pro debut, Ring of Combat. He's a beast. And then Dennis Bazooka's another up-and-coming guy. We got a lot. And then even our amateurs are like ready to go. A bunch of them ready to go pro. But, yeah, those three are definitely up-and-comers.
Now, Matt, I got one more question for you. It's October. Do you have any plans for Halloween? Do you like to dress up? What do you got planned for the rest of the month here?
Definitely going to enjoy the rest of the month. Try not to get turned into the cream roller, though. So, going to battle off become the cream roller, because we got to stay ready to get Billy Q ready for that UFC debut coming up.
Oh, whoa! Back up a second. Billy Q back at it again now?
Yeah, soon enough. Hopefully, we'll get some. We'll get some news we could share soon.
I love that season Ultimate Fighter is on. I think it was Faber that said he looked like a mix between Wahlberg and I forgot who it was, but
Channing Tatum.
Yes!
Channing Wahlberg.
He's such a good guy, man. I enjoy talking to him, and I would love to see him back in the UFC. I think he can really be a name that people get along, and I think he can make a lot of boyfriends jealous. Honestly, get the girlfriends to enjoy the fights.
He doesn't have that custom suit sponsorship yet.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, shout out to Billy Q. We definitely want to see him back here. Last but not least, man, how soon can we expect you back in the octagon? Do you have any suspensions for recovery or anything? When do you want to get back in there, if that's okay of me to ask? Because I know you guys hate that.
I'm probably thinking like beginning of next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about any opponents. You don't have a call out or anything. You're just gonna take it easy when the time comes. Then
I'll talk with my coaches. We'll see whose schedules line up, and then find out who's gonna get steamrolled next.
I love it, man. Thank you so much for joining us here on Pure EVil MMA. What we like to do at this point in the interview, if you have any shout outs, sponsors, social media tags, anything at all, the floor is now all yours.
Thank you, everyone who supports and follows. But mainly my gyms: Longo, Wwe MMA, Sarah BJJ, Gracie Tampa South, Gracie Clearwater, Acceleration Sports Training. And just everybody for supporting. Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Matt, I gotta ask you this. You didn't answer this question. You dressing up for Halloween or what?
Yeah, I will. I will. Haven't figured it out yet, but I'll definitely dress up like something.
Oh, really quick, did you see the new Joker movie? I wanted to ask you that as well. I forgot.
No, not yet. But I'm trying to go to the movies ASAP, and it doesn't matter what movie, as long as I have a bucket of popcorn, bunch of crunch, and then
a bunch of crunch.
Airhead Extremes.
Yo, that's our generation shit right there. The Airheads.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, Matt, I want to thank you so much. Can you just say, hey, guys, this is Matt Frevola, and you're listening to Pure EVil MMA?
Hey, guys, this is Matt Frevola, and you're listening to Pure EVil MMA.
Matt, God bless. Congratulations on the win. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you in the octagon as soon as possible. God bless.
All right, thanks. Thanks, bro.
There you guys go, Matt Frevola. Nothing but positive things to say. And I wanted to bring something up in the interview because it's really bothering me, and I really have to comment on it because this is Pure EVil MMA, and the MMA scene loves the show, and you'll see why I'm laughing when I say that. So I just released a new article at pureevilmma.com. You guys can go check it out at pureevilmma.com, where I discussed BOSSLOGIC getting ripped off by the UFC, and this was brought to my attention by Damon Martin, who I used to write alongside at mymmanews.com, one of my favorite outlets ever in MMA news. And I look at the bottom, about 40 minutes, not even, about 30 minutes after I published it, and there's a comment from, apparently, the violent Bob Ross, who I've had on the show before. I talked to him before he was even in the UFC. I've always said he's a great guy. Me and him have talked about personal things in his life through text or things like that. And he had a comment that really made me turn my head. I don't know if he was joking around or not, but let me just throw this out there. I tweeted it, and I ended up taking it down. But at the bottom of my tweet, or at the bottom of my article, let me read it to you guys. I was just really surprised by this. I mean, all I do is promote the fighters. All I've done is promote the entire season of Ultimate Fighter that he was on. I talked about him before he got signed to the UFC. I do this with all the fighters. I have nothing negative to say about anybody. And if you guys have been listening to Pure EVil MMA long enough, you know the energy that I like to bring to the table here. That people at home shouldn't be judging anybody unless they're in their shoes. Don't be sitting there in your underwear telling a fighter that they didn't win the fight, that you shouldn't leave to the judges, this and that. But I was surprised to see this. Violent Bob Ross, and I'm going to put this up to the camera after, says, from Violent Bob Ross, October 15th, 2019, 9:29 p.m. You were obsessed with saying, I stuttered. I didn't stutter. I lisped that. You are obsessed with saying this scene. In everything you write, not the right way he spelled it. It was RIGHT. And tweet. You sound like a moron. Stop. And for a second I was like, whoa. Excuse me? Are you taking your anger out on me, man? When all I've done is support you? Support your entire crew? I've had your coach on before, and I appreciate all the time. Anytime that you can give me, I appreciate, but I specifically remember you saying something that made me so happy after the last time we spoke. And it was, coming on my show was the best time you had. This was the best interview you ever done. That gave me an emotional high. I felt proud of myself after everything I've gone through in life, and everyone has their backstory. But it's so easy to give up when people are hating on you or have negative things to say about you. So when Lewis originally said this was the best interview I ever had, I felt great. I felt motivated. I felt more driven, obviously. Well, tonight, hearing you're obsessed with saying this scene. Excuse me, this scene. This scene. The scene that supports you on the show and platform that does nothing but say nice things about you. Retweet your stuff. That scene? I sound like a moron by saying that? I'm confused by that. Is that the biggest worry in life right now? And this is why I get upset a lot of the time with people around me. And I'm a little surprised a fighter is being this irrelevant and extra, unless it's not Violent Bob Ross. Because when I saw that, and let me show you guys, because I did delete the tweet, but you can go see this at pureevilmma.com. I messaged him, and I gave him my number to call me, and he can call in right now and let me know, like, was that you, bro? Like, why would you say that? Could you imagine saying that to a person who is weak? You could say that to the wrong person, man. I mean, me and you have spoke before, but if you say that to the wrong person, it could crumble them. They may be going through some serious shit, and they come to this scene to get away from all their depression, all their anxiety, all the reasons why they feel misunderstood in life, and they come here to this scene to feel accepted, like they have a place, like what they have to say, their opinion means something. But I sound like a moron for saying this scene, because I appreciate and live for this scene. This scene has saved my life. This scene has helped me. I'm going to be straight up with you guys. And my diehard listeners know this. This scene helped me stop putting a fucking needle in my arm. The support in this scene has helped me change my life for the better, because there are fighters in the UFC, in Bellator, in Lion Fight, in One, that have motivated me, that had nothing but nice things to say to me, that had nothing but inspirational fights that we could look at and relate our lives to, that when times are looking bleak, maybe that doesn't fit there, when times are rough and you get knocked down, and life has you cornered, that you can still come back and make it. It's this scene that I have to thank. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that will agree with me when they say, life sucks sometimes. When we go to work, when we have a dysfunctional family, when we're going through personal issues in life, bad relationships, depression, anxiety. And we get one moment every weekend to sit in front of our TV, pick up our phones, and tweet on Twitter or whatever social media app that you prefer, and tweet with the entire community. Is that better? Community? Do I sound like a moron when I say community? No, it's a scene. You want to know why it's a scene and not a community? A community all agrees with one another. A community is a place where everything is serene. It's a scene because you have this table. It's like the high school lunchroom. You have this table of trolls. You have this table of people who really look up to fighters. You have this table that only know one fighter and only live for that one fighter. You have this table of casuals. You have this table of fighters who are also fans that will communicate with the community, aka the scene, because that's what it is, the scene. Now, if you want to be plastic in the lunchroom and call me a moron, that's crazy to me, man, because all I've done ever is promote you, to show people. And I believe it was you who tweeted out after your loss where you stormed out of the cage, where a lot of fighters, a lot of people, a lot of media members, a lot of trolls had something to say about that. Now, what did I do? What did I do? I tweeted you and I said something nice to you. Some of my listeners here at Pure EVil MMA had negative things to say. You know what I did? I messaged them and I said, did you really have to be that hard on PENA? But now I write a piece on my website. And the only thing you had to say, and the reason I wrote this piece was because I thought it was so messed up how these, we'll call them the 1%ers of the UFC, screwed over BOSSLOGIC. Screwed over some of the best artists that we have in this scene. And how that wasn't right. That we should be supporting one another, not ripping one another off. And I feel like fame changes a lot of people. And I didn't like that. And I would really like for you to call in right now. I messaged you. Okay. Oh, whoa. Big change of events. Wow. 8:35. I'm a little late to the party. Yo, hold on. Call me, bro. Call me, bro. Please. I'm live right now. Give me 2 minutes. Please. I just finished with your opponent. Wow, this makes me feel a lot better because I've never felt like Lewis was this kind of a person. So he just messaged me. Here's what I had to say. I sent him the photo of the comment with, I guess, somebody using his name. I said, Lewis, this isn't you, is it? If it is, why would that bother you? ... We've been speaking since... Why do I keep having a lisp? We've been speaking since 2016... I don't appreciate the extra negative comment. Can you call me quick? I gave him my number. I messaged him again. Call me quick. He said, no, not at all. No, it only said, no, not at all. I promise this is not me. Which makes a lot of sense because he's not that kind of a person. Which is why I've always defended him. I really hope he can call in right now. Because that really bothered me a lot. And everything I've been saying right now has been, this is such a shock to me. From saying this was the best interview you've ever done to saying all I do is say this scene and I sound like a moron. That is not something I would think he would say because I keep doing the lisp. Because we've talked about personal things before in the past. Not a lot, but every time we do talk, it's always good vibes. I've always had nothing but nice things to say about him. So I really do hope he calls in. And my apology goes out to the Violent Bob Ross. Because this does tie in. We just had his opponent on. And I do like what his opponent had to say. That Lewis is a great guy. That sometimes emotions does get the best of you. And he also did have something to say about the judging. How it shouldn't be cage side. So we're going to try to get Violent Bob Ross on the show again. We'll see what he does tonight. I'll keep you guys updated with that as well. But my point being is, when somebody says something negative to you, it could be a troll, might not mean much. But if you're a troll pretending to be another fighter, and you're saying something to a media member that you have contact with, that hurt when I thought that was actually the Violent Bob Ross. That bothered me a lot. It didn't bother me as much as it surprised me that he would say something like that. Completely out of character. So I'm glad that we got that situated. Let's move on, since we're talking about PENA and his camp. DC. I don't know how much you guys know, but last year, DC came out to say, I'm going to retire at the beginning of 2019. He's accomplished a lot in his career. Look at the killers that he's gone through. And I'm not going to lie, I've doubted him when he first came to the UFC, when all that happened, getting signed over, and he was beating all of my favorites. He proved himself. He's only lost to 2 fighters ever. Stipe, who he beat first, and John. Now, DC went on Ariel's show and said his next fight is going to be his last fight, which is so sad. But when you think about it, what more can DC really do with his career? He's lived the dream. He's lived the dream. He's taken out some of the best names. All he can really do is fight Stipe next, which I would love to see. It's 1-1. Now you throw in the John Jones fight. Personally, and I keep going back and forth with this, I would like that to happen at heavyweight. Also, you want to throw something in. Cain Velasquez, somebody else that trains over there at that camp, made his WWE debut. Broke, I think, 3 million people tuned in, or at least to the clip on YouTube that came up from the WWE. 3 million people tuned in to watch that debut, where him and Brock Lesnar came face to face again. Now, all my diehards out there know we would love to see that. We would love to see that, but not script written. So listen, maybe we wouldn't love to see that, but you know what we would love to see? At least I would love to see, and I want to know what your opinion is. Brock Lesnar versus DC for the final fight. Let's make it the heavyweight BMF title. How about that? The heavyweight BMF title. Now you might say, well, Stipe should probably be first in line for that. I'm down with that too. Why not? I'm totally down with that. How about Cain versus Brock Lesnar? One last hurrah inside the octagon. But let's put the brakes onto that, because when I say he retired, and that comes pretty loosely inside the MMA scene, we've seen this before in the past with plenty of fighters, most recently Uriah Faber. Well, Cain is also the USADA's list. He put into the UFC that he retired. It's official. He's even off the UFC rankings. His last fight being against Francis Ngannou. Not the way we wanted Cain to go out, which makes me really wonder, how legit is this? Does Cain just want to take some time off? Doesn't want to have to deal with USADA? Then he'll come back after a little while, do the Ronda thing, but come back. I mean, Cain also, what a career he's had. He'll be in the UFC Hall of Fame if he isn't. I don't think he is, but I definitely don't think he is. But he will be in the UFC Hall of Fame no matter what, because his career, just him in general, man, it's hard to say goodbye to a fighter like that. His last time before the Francis Ngannou fight, UFC 200, he had a wheel kick in that fight. If I remember correctly, he threw a wheel kick. He looked great, and he was out for about 2 years up to that point as well. Then we got to see him on The Ultimate Fighter with Joe Giannetti, with PENA, with Bryce, with all those guys. And it was nice seeing him in there teaching these young kids. DC is in that same position where he could do that. He could be a coach. He'd be an amazing coach. It's weird to see in the last 5 years how many fighters we've said goodbye to. But saying goodbye to DC, saying goodbye to Cain, it's pretty hard, man. It's hard to see these guys pack their bags. But you know what? There's always someone next in line. Always somebody next in line. And I want you guys to remember that. No matter what you're doing in life, there's always somebody next in line for that position you want. Why not you? So if you're in the heavyweight division, or you're inspired, you want to become an MMA fighter, start tomorrow. It's not like you're gonna fight next week or anything, but put some commitment into something. Don't listen to what people have to say. Even the yes men, take that with a grain of salt. Let that fire burn. There's always somebody next in line. Why not you? And I've said this before on the show in the past, that there's been people when I was in high school on the football team, on the all-star baseball teams, they looked at me and they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be in the NFL. I want to be in the MLB. Do you know how hard that is? It's impossible. Oh, it's impossible? You want to know something? There were kids out there, my age, that same day, that kept moving forward with their dreams, where their parents and idols supported them to follow that dream. They didn't say, give up. And I wish I knew that back then like I know now. Because there is always somebody next in line. Why not you? Keep your head up. Ignore all the trolls. Ignore the haters. Look at all the trolls that were on DC. Look what he's gone through. He's had an amazing career. I would love to see him get one more fight with Stipe, but I'd really rather see him get that third fight with John Jones at heavyweight. But you know what? Either way, nothing but love for somebody like DC. And he's grown on so many people over the years. Like I was saying, there were so many fans out there, so-called fans, that love to hate on him when he first showed up. And look how far he's come. Between commentating on Fox. I loved when he would do that with Kenny and Bryant. The funny things that he had to say and press conferences with John. Sandblasting Hose. His personality shining on The Ultimate Fighter. Playing the pranks. Just good energy, man. That's a real role model. That's somebody you should look up to. And there should be more people like that. Now, moving forward, let's talk about Joanna versus the Karate Hottie. Now, Karate Hottie's been getting a little slack because, not slack, she's getting a little shade from some people saying, oh, she's got cowboy syndrome, that she can't perform under the big lights. First off, it's the Karate Hottie. Don't judge her off one performance. You sound like a new fan where you're going to write off everything this person did in the past like you've done to numerous fighters out there. Joanna being one of them. Joanna being one of them. Saying, oh, she's washed up, she doesn't have what it takes anymore, this and that. Now you're back on the bus. We see this. People hop on, they hop off, they hop on, they hop off. It's crazy. I love watching it all, too. I love watching it all. It's so entertaining to see everyone's opinions change over time, negative things they have to say. There was a great meme that I saw this week since the Joker came out. It was a scene from the Joker where he's in the car without the makeup. Or no. Sorry, screwed it up. There's a scene of him in a car with all the makeup on, smiling, feeling good. And at the top, it says, when you talking ish about your fighter that's going to win the fight. And then below that, it's him without the makeup, all miserable, depressed, sad. And it says, when you have to return to the comment section after your fighter didn't win. And it's so real. It's so true how much of that goes around, how we see that every week. And 2019, I know there's a lot of people out there that may not have enjoyed it, but I promise you, when we look back at 2019 in a whole and put it in a nutshell, and we highlight the best submissions, breakthrough fighters of the year, best finishes of the year, best female performance of the year, best walkout of the year, best comeback of the year. You're going to be like, damn, 2019 really wasn't that bad. And I feel like the biggest reason about it was we didn't have the superstars like we've been used to the past couple of years, like Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, but we have new people coming through. Israel Adesanya, which I feel like it's split down the line with Israel. I feel like half people hate him, half people love him. But I love the energy. And I'll tell you this. Somebody from high school messaged me. I don't really keep touch with a lot of people from high school anymore, but I found this interesting because he's not a diehard. He's not a casual either. He pays attention, I'd say 65% of the time. Some cards, and you know how it is. You may not be that interested in watching. But let me read you his comment because I actually enjoyed what he had to say about Israel Adesanya. If I can find the comment, I probably should have had it all set up for you guys. Let me see here. Oh, here we go. From my boy Rusty Shackelford, which isn't really his real name. All right, so he waves, says, "Yo," he says, "Bro, Izzy is going to broaden the reach of UFC to so many people." And I was thinking, to me, watching this sport for over a decade now, if I could put myself back to when I was 15 years old, first getting into it, and I was tuning in watching Izzy, I would probably feel the same way about him that I felt about Anderson Silva. That's the best comparison. I know a lot of you guys might be like, oh, well, that's obvious. But think about that. If you're a 15-year-old kid, guy or girl, You're new to the sport. You don't really know much about the past. You look at somebody like Izzy. You're like, this is my favorite fighter. I responded to him. I said, you think? I said, he's a great fighter for sure, but I don't know if he's making an impact like Conor or Ronda. And you look at that and you could question it. You could question what I'm saying. Because he's still growing. You got to remember, he just got to the UFC. He's an established fighter from outside mixed martial arts. But he just got to the UFC and he's blown up Cody Garbrandt style. But he, in my mind, my opinion, and I think Cody's a great fighter. I have his book over there on the wall that you guys can see. Let me take the camera. Oh, wrong way. Over there, you can't really see it. Let me point to where it is. This is weird because everything's backwards. Right there. I got Cody's book. I'm a supporter of Cody. There was nothing better than seeing him stunt on Dominic Cruz. There was nothing better than seeing him knock out Thomas Almeida. I'm a Cody fan. Israel Adesanya has more star power, I feel, and it's growing. But it's a little bit too soon. But the seed's been planted, and damn, is it blooming. And wow, is the UFC pouring Miracle Grow on Israel Adesanya. But that's the thing. Everything has changed in the past 10 years. Fighters know what they need to do between social media. Having that 10-second clip it of a quote that you said that's going to go viral. Calling people out. Having something planned. Going into your fight, you don't know if you're going to win or lose. You're confident you're going to win. But have something in the back of your mind when you win the fight to call out on the microphone, because that's what people get behind. That's what keeps people excited. You got this wave after you get that first round knockout and it's climbing. They're in there interviewing you and they want to know what you're doing next, and you say whoever the UFC gives me. And the wave goes down, and then it's going to take a little bit more energy to build that wave back up instead of knowing what you're going to do. And I'm not a UFC manager. I'm not an MMA manager or anything like that, but I've been following this sport for a very long time. I've been following combat sports and doing media since 7 years old on the radio of combat sports. So I know what people love. And I feel like our generation finally gets it. And fighters are finally getting it. And you should take note from somebody like Izzy, because Izzy took note from this one, that one, the other one. He knows what he's doing in there. I'm excited to see what's next, which is transitioning into the next topic here. Dana White saying he's down with a possible John Jones versus Israel Adesanya fight. I don't know if I'm into that. I don't know why Dana... Well, you know what? I know why Dana said it. He's just playing into it. He's trying to get everybody excited. I don't see that fight ever happening. I'll tell you what I do see happening. John Jones, if he does go to heavyweight, I want to see him fight Brock Lesnar. I would like to see him fight Francis Ngannou. Could you imagine that? That would be so insane. I would be scared to watch that fight. Let me know what you guys think about all this at PureEvilMMA.com, and also on my Twitter at PureEvilMMA_ or my personal one at Evil_Echo. That's EVIL_ECCO, and on Instagram at PureEvilMMA_. We are going to announce the winners of the giveaway right now. We got 2 winners. All you had to do was go on the PureEvilMMA_ Instagram, tag 5 people to say follow me. The 2 winners are Cody the Bug and Leslie. So if you guys are watching this right now, you have to DM me. I give you 2 days to check this out. Announce your name. You need to know you're watching the show. If you're watching the show at home right now, guys, go let Leslie, go let Cody the Bug know that they won the giveaway, and they're going to win the poster right here behind us of the new Pure Evil MMA logo, which reminds me we got new merch dropping as well with that design, and I have an exclusive artist drawing a Pure Evil MMA Halloween design for everybody. Now, before we end today's show, since it's Halloween, I want to keep you guys up. I want to keep things spooky here. PureEvilMMA.com, we released ghost stories, MMA ghost stories, where we get fighters to talk about scary things that have happened to them. We've had Justin Sumner on the show who had one hell of a scary story. And you can find that clip at PureEvilMMA.com or at YouTube under my Pure Evil MMA page. But today, we are going to replay the owner of Ammo Fight Leagues, ghost story. We got Bill Vigil. This scared the hell out of me, guys. Let me throw this on for you guys because buckle up. Let's get ready for some MMA ghost stories. Three, two, one. There's like anything creepy or like anything that like you can't explain because we're doing a Halloween.
I can tell you a lot of stuff like that, but you probably think I'm crazy.
Well, no, I'm not, because we've actually Justin Sumner, you know Justin Sumner.
Yes.
He was coming. He was like, man, I don't have any ghost stories, but there's this one thing where I was being held down by a demon. I was like, what do you mean? That's a great ghost story.
What happened to him happened to me.
Oh, sleep paralysis, something like that, where you just explain what. Bring us through it.
My first home that I purchased. Okay, I purchased it in a small town near the reservations. And
in Connecticut?
In Connecticut,
okay.
Near the Pequot, the Golden Pequot Reservation. Okay, it's in Colchester. New home, you know, we moved in and we started hearing a lot of, you know, weird sounds coming from all over the house, like creeping, walking, you know, footsteps and all that. And I used to tell this to, at the time, my girlfriend, and she goes, oh, this is your imagination. Or, you know, or you're doing something you shouldn't be doing.
We always try to brush it off, like.
You know? So, you know, weeks and months go by, and, you know, I keep hearing all these creakings. It could be, my wife says, it could be the house just, you know, creaking because it's new, settling and all that. And one night, I'm in the room, and my bed starts shaking. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not lying. It started shaking. I freaked out. I ran outside the house. I called my girlfriend. I go, babe, the whole bed just shook, and then she goes, were you drinking again? I said, I swear I wasn't drinking nothing. Well, that passed. Months later came by. My buddy was visiting. He stayed in that same room where that happened.
Oh, so you never went back in that room? You're like, that's the guest room now.
I had 3 rooms, and that room was out living for me. But everyone who ever slept in that room encountered that same situation.
That is so, like, nothing like that happens until you're living in somewhere it's like Indian reservations, which is like what you're saying. Like here in Connecticut, guys might have heard of like Haunting Connecticut. Yes. There's the Mohegan Sun and like all the old Indian like folklore and stuff like that. And I believe in all that stuff. Like I wouldn't mess with any of that. I do too,
because I'm going to tell you, I experienced it. Okay, and I found out so much information after that because I looked into it. I guess the type of spirit or ghost or whatever you call it was what they call a gray ghost.
Which means what? Because I never heard of that. I've heard of like orbs. I've heard of.
I guess this was a playful one. It wasn't something that's going to come and terrorize you, you know, and
terrorize you. It was shaking your bed.
Right? Yeah, but you know, there's some incidents you see on TV and you hear about where these people, you know, are like trying to murder you.
Maybe foreplay or something, like shaking the bed.
I mean, I'm telling you, man. There's one. This is the weirdest part. Like I said, my girlfriend didn't believe me. She said it was just my imagination. And one day I get a call, and she goes, babe, I believe you. I go, what do you mean? She goes, the ghost. It happened to me. I go, what do you mean? She goes, my grandmother's music box started playing. I go, so? She goes, there's no music mechanism in that music box. So she ran out of the house too. It was unbelievable. So after that, believe it or not, I went to go talk to a priest about it.
Cool. Well, just to let people know, Ed and Lorraine Warren are actually from Connecticut, who are like the ghost people. So there's a lot of people around here that are familiar with stuff like that. So who did you reach out to? How did you find a priest that knew anything about that?
I went to talk to my mom about it.
Okay.
She told me all this because she was a true believer. I didn't believe in that at all until it happened to me. And then when I talked to spirit, you know, they go, well, you know, there's, you know, there's types of spirits that just roam, certain areas. This could have been, an area where the Indians, had ceremonies or burial. Well, up the road, there was a burial area. Okay, you don't know how they developed that whole area. They could have developed where where my home was built at, But what he did is he went there and he did his little prayers in all the rooms. He put the holy water and all that, and that didn't work. That didn't work. What we found out later on is that when we spoke to this other person, they go, "Did this happen from day one?" I go, "No, it didn't happen from day one. We moved in, and like 6 months later, it started happening." So the person said, "Well, what changed in 6 months from the day you moved into that?" Well, we started buying a lot of stuff.
I've heard of stuff like this before, and it makes so much sense, like the haunted collector and like haunted dolls and stuff like that.
Eddie, we started buying stuff. We didn't buy new stuff because we didn't afford nothing. So we were going to like tag sales, flea markets, and all that. And we picked up this old clock, this mantle clock. It was from an estate sale. Well, the woman, when she passed away, the kids sold their stuff. Well, I took that clock home. Right after this person told us that, it goes, if it came from someone that, had something, that was very passionate and close to this object, it could still be there. So, what we did? We took that clock out the house and it stopped.
Well, just fair warning, in case I die, no one take my iPhone, because I'm coming back for it. Seriously. That is so weird. You had to get rid of the clock, right?
We ended up getting rid of the clock and it stopped. Jesus. So there was something attached to that clock.
Is this the same house that you're in, or
no.
This is a different one?
That was gone. That was gone. We're in a different house now, and we don't have no problems. But yeah, I'm a true believer in that because I've lived it. I experienced it. That whole experience probably lasted for close to 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's 9 months too long for me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's 9 months too long.
But it is what it is. But that's my story with my Halloween story.
See, that is perfect because what I'm doing is actually I'm going to be having like a whole bunch of fighters, MMA media, whatever, have their stories shared. I'm going to put them all together, compile. So now we're going to take this clip and put it on that. So that's a really good story. And I've been experiencing a lot of weird stuff in my life, but like always brush it off until like you can't anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can't wait to share some of that stuff. What about Ouija boards? Did you ever let your kids play with like a Ouija board or anything like that?
I fear the damn thing. So
have you ever played with it before or anything?
Yes,
like that?
I did. When someone introduced it to me when I was a little child, and then someone said to me, "It's the devil's toy," and that was it. I stayed away from it after that, So I only had one, encounter with that. So I've never played with that. My kids have, mentioned it, and they're like, "Nah, it's not gonna happen." So because of my experience that I've had in my life with stuff like that, I don't want to mess around with that stuff.
You know what? I was talking to Diego Lima the other day. I was like, man, I found God now in my life. I don't even celebrate Halloween anymore or anything like that just because I want to keep the energy away from the kids and all that. When I can understand that, but the best part is using your imagination as a kid,
right.
Feeling free and stuff like that. Well, let's jump into some of the MMA talk. Obviously, you got a big event coming up. All right, there you guys go. I really want to thank Bill Vigil from Ammo Fight League for sharing that story. How creepy was that? Seriously. I mean, let's be real, guys. If it's October and you're not feeling the Halloween vibes, why listen to Pure EVil MMA? We love to hear ghost stories. So I don't think there's anyone else out there, any other media platform that's going to give you guys MMA ghost stories. So I'm going to reach out to more fighters out there to see if there's more, but I want to hear what you guys have dealt with. Have you guys ever had ghosts in your home? Have you ever had paranormal activity going around inside your home? Let me know down here in the comments because I have a crazy ghost story, which I will share with you guys right now. I mean, screw it. I was going to say next week, but let me just share my ghost story right now really quick. So I have a couple of ghost stories. Well, let me start back when I was like 7 years old. So they say like when you're a little kid, let me put this out. I was getting all shook. I had to have a smoke listening to that. That was pretty intense. I felt like Edgar Allan Poe. If you're listening to the audio podcast, you're not seeing what I'm doing, but felt like Edgar Allan Poe listening to that. He had the creepy music in the background. I hope you guys enjoyed that. But when I was 7, I was so into ghost stories, Halloween, dressing up. I was always the Power Ranger for some reason. I had a big crush on the Pink Ranger. What was her name? Kim. Kim was the Pink Ranger. The Yellow Ranger, I don't know. I feel like now at 30, I have a bigger crush on the Yellow Power Ranger because I've never been with an Asian woman before. If you're Asian out there, hit me up. But when I was little, my dad brought me to a graveyard, a haunted graveyard here in Connecticut, and there's a ton of them. Like I said in that interview with Bill Vigil, Ed and Lorraine Warren, the most famous, if you guys ever seen the movie The Conjuring, Conjuring 1, Conjuring 2, Annabelle, that's the Warren family, Ed and Lorraine Warren. My mom, okay, that'll be the second story. My mom's story is crazy, so hold on. I'll be really quick with my story. 7 years old, my dad brings me to a cemetery. Now, at 7, I was just getting into learning how to broadcast, learning how to be a journalist, because my dad's best friend was one of the biggest radio hosts alongside Glenn Beck, which I learned from Glenn Beck and my dad's best friend, who was supposed to be my godfather, but that's totally irrelevant to this story. My imagination was running rampant like any 7-year-old out there. So when we went, I was already pumped. I thought I was going to see ghosts no matter what. And I remember we got out of the car. My stepmother refused. She was so scared. She refused to get out of the car. Me and my dad started walking. And it's still in my mind. And I've gone through this thousands of times, wondering if it was real or if it was my imagination. But when I say I can still see it in my head, it freaks me out, because I could literally still see the entire scene play out in my head, where we were walking, my dad went this way, and I was, going on my own, and I looked over to a headstone, and it was like one of the old headstones, not like the ones we have now where they're in the ground, but like the old ones that come up like you would get for a Halloween decoration put in your yard that just says RIP or whatever. And I swear to you that I saw a ghost. And when I say ghost, I mean I saw a see-through person behind the headstone, like with its hands over the headstone, like kind of leaning a little like to the right, like leaning towards the path I was on. And I turned around and ran back to the car. When I got back to the car, my dad and my stepmom was like going with my imagination. My dad was like, "You didn't see nothing, like relax." When I went to school that following Monday, I told everyone about it because it was so real. I thought it was like seeing Bigfoot or something to me. Like I've never seen anything like that before. And the reason why I went through this 1,000 times was because how could when you're a kid, you have an imagination, but you know the difference between fantasy of what you're making up in your head, whether you think you're being a pirate or you're a Power Ranger or something like that, to actually literally seeing something. I saw something, and it didn't really have too many details, but I don't want to say it was white, but it was like it was like a smoke, but it had like a distinct figure. It wasn't like smoke where it's like dispersing. It had a legit figure, but you could see through it, and it was holding on top of the headstone. And when I went to school and I shared about it, everyone, including my teacher, thought I was making this all up. And that bothered me because I went back in my head and I was like, was I imagining that? But like, I'm 30 years old now, guys, and I still can see that image in my head. Like literally, I really wish I could just bring it out my head and just show you, because it's so real to me. I've experienced things, but I've never seen anything else like that. But they do say young children are prone to witnessing paranormal activity or spirits, this and that. Move 1 year later. Now I'm about 8 years old. I used the Ouija board for the first time. And this is actually kind of weird. This is so weird. I was using the Ouija board for the first time. We were at a family party. I was at my Uncle Gerald's mother-in-law's house, so my Auntie Cindy's mother's house in East Haven, right off exit 51 by Forbes. And her cousin Allison whipped out the Ouija board, and I wanted to get in. I wanted to ask a spirit a question. And you guys already know I'm a big animal lover. I have, well, now 14 rats. I had 7. Now there's new babies. I have a bunch of fish. I got 2 dogs. I love animals. When I was little, I had turtles because I loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So obviously I named them after the Ninja Turtles. I put my hand on the Ouija, I don't know what it's called, but that thing that like spells out words. And I asked it, will I ever have turtles again? It said no. And I laughed at that. I was like, that's ridiculous. Of course I'm going to have turtles again. Never had turtles again. I went home. My grandparents scared the shit out of me. They said, next time I use that, the devil can come take my soul, this and that. Like, I freaked out. When they told me the story, I lifted my feet off the ground onto the chair and it was like hot lava. Remember that game Hot Lava when we were kids? Where you can't touch the floor, you have to jump object to object? I literally stood on the chair for an hour, freaking, like, I believe them. They're adults. I believe them. I'm already seen a ghost. A year later, I'm playing with a Ouija board. Now the devil's going to take my soul. And then they told me about The Exorcist. Obviously, this is around Halloween time. About 3-4 days later, my mom goes to see Ed and Lorraine Warren from The Conjuring and the Annabelle Doll. They have the Annabelle Doll in their museum. Well, Ed Warren passed away now, so it's only Lorraine. And she's pretty old now. I believe she's still alive. But you can literally take a trip to Connecticut and visit the museum. You can see the Annabelle Doll. And if you don't know much about it, look it up. Now is the perfect time. October, perfect time to look something like that up. Because they've said there's been people, there was this one guy that went there, before I get into my mom's story, there's this one guy that went there and challenged the Annabelle Doll. Laughed at it, said, you're just a doll. You can't do anything to me. On his way home, got into a car crash and died. So my mom, a couple of days after I used the Ouija board, goes to an Ed and Lorraine Warren seminar where they show everybody apparitions they've seen, exorcisms, all the cases that they have studied. And there was one woman that stood out to me, the white lady in Connecticut. I thought that was so interesting. Well, I don't mean to get off topic, but on the way home, my mother was heading back after the Ed and Lorraine Warren seminar. She said the radio started changing channels. She shut the radio off, it turned back on, changed channels. She was like, all right, obviously there's something weird going on here. It's not anything spiritual. She didn't think it was anything spiritual. She just thought, the car's acting up. And I remember it was a Dodge, not Taurus. Dodge, what the hell? Taurus? Whatever. Irrelevant. Gets home. I remember when she got home, I used to live in the living room. Now, we never had our own apartment or anything. She had her own room. I lived in the living room. She opened up the blinds. Went to the bathroom, came back out. I was asleep. The blinds were up. And she just put them down. She put them back down. Thought that was weird. Whatever. Goes to bed. Wakes up the next morning broken out in hives. Broken out in hives. I should have her on the show. Let me try. Oh, my girls hit me up. Oh my God, I feel bad. Let me try to call her. She's going to be so mad. She's going to be so mad because she's working at the hospital. I just want to have her confirm this story, that I'm not making it up. She's probably not going to answer. If she doesn't answer, I'll tell you what, I'll make a promise. Here's what I'm going to do. When she gets home tomorrow, I'm going to go to her, and I'm going to set the GoPro up. I'm going to record her ghost story so you guys can actually hear. And I'll put the music in the background. I'll edit it, and I'll have it up by tomorrow night to confirm the story, because she's going to say it so much better than I could. My family also went to a haunted graveyard. Took a bunch of photos. I think I was about 10 years old. Hold on. I'll call my cousin. Let me call my cousin. Let me do this for you guys. Hang in there, guys. I know you're going to get mad. I'm going to edit this out of the audio, but hopefully my cousin doesn't throw me under the bus over anything, but we'll see. Hold on. Yo.
I'm not working.
No, you're not. Give me 3 seconds.
All right.
So can you really quick, I'm live on my show right now. Can you just give a quick summary of what was captured in those photos with Cousin Robert when they went to the graveyard? Captured all the ghost photos?
They got spirits on there.
Yeah, but do you remember what they got?
Huh?
Do you remember what they got? Like, there was a bunch of photos I remember.
There was a lot of them, but they don't know where it is because they probably all disappeared and nobody could find them because everybody was trying to figure out what was going on.
Do you remember the graveyard they went to?
Yeah, they went to the one in New Haven, Union Cemetery, I think it is, with the white lady.
Yeah, I was just talking about that with everybody on the show, listening to the show right now. One more question. Do you remember after they took those photos, they went to some lady or something, and they said, you see this photo right here? That's your guardian angel protecting you. Because it was like...
that was Chrissy.
Who was it, Cousin Chrissy?
Cousin Chrissy, she always had her orb with her. And that was considered her guardian angel.
Because they went to that graveyard and there was a photo of... It wasn't the moon. It was like an orb following her through each photo. And whoever they went to show the photos to, they were like, yeah, that's your guardian angel protecting you. Never go back to that cemetery, ever.
Yeah, no.
How crazy is that? I really want to find those photos. But Liz, really quick. What are you doing for Halloween? Are we gonna do anything fun or what?
I don't know. I might have to be working, but I'm down. I'm off Thursday and Saturday, so we should do something.
All right, we'll talk. I'm live right now, so let me finish my show. But listen.
Hi.
But listen, guess what? Bitch, if I'ma die, I'ma haunt you. All right, later. All right, so yeah, just had to confirm that story. I'm gonna have my mom share her story. If you guys have any ghost stories, let me know in the comment section down below, because I love hearing them. Whether you believe in them or not, it's just so fascinating to hear. It's October. Let me know if you guys saw the Joker movie. I'm about to bring my grandfather to go see it. And just to get back into a little bit of MMA news, I got some surprises for everybody on next week's show. Some new ideas that you guys may not be down with, but want to try something new. Valor BK, excited to see their next event, but BKFC just announced Artem versus Jason Knight 2 going down just a couple of weeks. But here's my question to you. Is this a fight we really want to see? Yeah, it was an exciting fight. A funny fight. I laughed a couple times because they were slipping all over the place. But is it a fight we want to see? Also on that card, I believe Bigfoot versus Gonzalez is on there. G squared. Gabriel Gonzaga is going to be on that card. Bigfoot versus Gonzaga. Are you kidding me? Let me know what you guys are looking forward to for October. If you guys have any suggestions of topics you want me to talk about. Also, we got some great news coming up for you guys. I really wanted to announce it tonight, but I haven't confirmed it yet. And it's at the tip of my tongue. I really want to say it, but I'm not going to. Because you know what happens? Once you announce something, get everyone excited, doesn't happen. Pisses me off. But one thing I can announce before we end today's show, new merch dropping, Pure EVil MMA, teespring.com/Pure EVil MMA, Halloween. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure EVil MMA, PureEvilMMA.com. Remember, white knuckles to the end. Without evil, there's no purity. Behave yourselves.